am Captain Foley. I host Trekyards. I am Captain Foley. I host Trekyards. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Trekyards. I do not remember his name, but I'm Captain Foley.
Is something happening there in Canada that isn't happening in the UK? Because normally you start with such bounce of energy of personality. What's wrong?
There was like a meteor impact or something. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. Who are you? Why am I here?
I mean, just read the description, Stuart. All the information's there, including links to our Patreon, PayPal, join the channel on YouTube. It's all there. Just remind yourself. I'm Commander Cockings.
Commander Cockings, that's it.
Used to be Admiral, but, things happened and, but soon to be Admiral again, maybe, or even Vice Admiral of the whole fleet. I mean, who's just to say, depending how you feel tomorrow.
Sounds like you stole a starship. Didn't save Earth, but you did something almost good. So they demoted you from Admiral to Commander. Okay, gotcha.
So, Stuart, episode 4, Stranger World, season 2.
Episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters is what it's called. And we revisit Rigel 7. I thought this was interesting enough. It had a very TOS feel to it for sure. Like, this is definitely an episode you would see on TOS. Or I also got like Stargate vibes from it, where they lose their memory or something. Can't remember where they're from. It's a good sci-fi premise. I rather enjoyed it. It was standard run-of-the-mill Star Trek episode, and I think it hit all the beats really well, and I really enjoyed it. So that's about all I have to say about it right now. How about you? Did you like it?
I'm doing a pun, but sort of not intentionally. It's good, but forgettable.
That's good.
Because it is. It's a well-made bit of television. It's probably a little bit too long. It's not particularly sharp. It's quite a gentle voyage. I'm picturing my rewatch is going to be like a little bit boredness, because we know where it's going. There's a lot of... It's not padding, but they take their time a lot. They could do a bit more with certain elements, for sure. Flashbacks, or they could have done more with it if they had the time and money. But it's a good sci-fi story. You've seen that basic concept, but not in that way. The art design's pretty good. I mean, the LED wall, snow background. I mean, the limitations you feel, like half the episode's in a little circle of ice, because that's the LED wall, right? That's how they utilised it. There's not a lot for Trekyards to talk about, except a model of a Shinjo. But okay. Yeah, we didn't get any Cage flashbacks. I was kind of expecting, honestly, in the last time on, a shot from the Cage, because they've done that before. Because most people aren't going to know this is a story from the past. Why would they, right? Because it's a subset of a subset of a subset that's in the first one, and know the words enough to remember Rigel 7, right? They'll remember Spock laughing and number 1, but those things won't necessarily... Alvina and Chalosians, but that is quite middle, inside of it. So it would have been nice to have last time on, or like I said, flashbacks to him in Cage uniform in the past would have been obvious things to do. I'm surprised they kind of didn't.
Yeah, I loved the reference to Rigel 7, because that's when the Cage starts. That's the mission they just come off of, where he had lost some crew, and that would have been that was neat to see. We established this 5 years ago. I would have loved to have seen a Cage laser as one of the weapons, as opposed to the old Enterprise rifles.
It makes those even older,
Mako.
Because obviously those were on the Discovery earlier in the timeline, but that was itself after Cage. So these things are quite old. Although, why would they bring down like 12 phaser rifles to a planet that they're doing a survey on?
That's a good question.
Because they didn't replicate more. I was expecting some giant reveal of he managed to reverse engineer tech, but they had loads.
And that's when the battle started. They beamed them down but then it got really bad and they had to pull out.
Well, they didn't give any information on the situation. All I took from it was that they beamed down in uniform to look at the planet, and then it went poorly. 3 people died. They got Spock out. So it was a 5-person team, and there was more than 5 rifles down there. It felt like I could buy 1 rifle, but like 7 or 8.
I got the vibe. It went really bad, and the Enterprise made me beam down 1 crate out of stuff. I only saw 3 rifles, maybe 4. And even the ones that were watching them when they were doing their work didn't have them, so...
Well, not just that, but they also had, he opened the box, and there was a TOS tricorder. Well, no, a Stranger Worlds pre-TOS tricorder, which of course wouldn't have been around. I don't think they didn't have that prop in the Cage. So that would be a Cage era tricorder, etc. Small things, but that was the obvious chance to build some. Just when Pike, puts it on the floor, you see a cage laser just pop into view. That's it.
Or even one of the old communicators would have been nice too.
Yeah, yeah. But like, you can sense they only spent money in a few places, and then that money was used over the whole shooting. You know, they built 10 costumes, great, and which is fine, right? No complaints. Just that would have been a nice touch to kind of give a bit more oomph to the story.
Yeah, and now we all know that all you need is like a silver-plated like serving platter to deflect a phaser bullet. Like, that was kind of silly as well, but cool scene, cool sequence. And Pike wouldn't have necessarily remembered or known that would do the job.
Oh, he had no idea. He didn't know what they were shooting. He just thought they were light. I mean, it's a shield, right? Although I will say I quite liked him beating the shit out of the guy, seeing a character we like go further, because then all that he was being driven by was the emotion of save the people. I don't know this guy, so he's, losable. I thought that was a really good scene, actually. That whole bit at the end was bold and strong. Good for Anson.
I love that aspect of it. The High Lord Zacharias, his name is Zach Nugent. He was one of the ones that was assumed, listed as killed in action. And I love how you didn't confirm it. You didn't even check. That was kind of great, actually. And how they adopted his symbol, planted a garden with it. And that's cool too. Like, oh, look, there's a Delta, and maybe he's calling for help. Something's going on.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not against infinite stories where someone gets left behind and bad things happen, because every planet is a unique version of that story, and every officer will react differently. Some will become king, some will get locked in a prison, some will become magicians, some will start a secret cult. Like, there's a lot of variations you can play to that. We just happen to see...
Enterprisians.
Yeah. There's loads of that sort of thing. So I'm fine with that sort of vibe. Yeah, and repercussions, it's good. And like I say, Link to the Cage is great. Just could have done with any cage. Or, they had to contact Dr. Boyce, recast him, and, get some medical records. Like, there's loads of small things that could have done that really would have, really elevated it from just a normal story with a nice tie-in. Because if this had been, a half cage, if they'd kept showing flashbacks to how he got out of the situation, if we'd shown that, we could have introduced ourselves to the guy who lived organically without just there he is. It's a bit abrupt, right? If you'd shown that part of the story, I like the love plot, that's great, right? And Ortega's stuff's good too. I don't know how exactly to stream it down, and those flashbacks were so rewarding. And all you gotta do is dye the guy's hair, right? Because Pike and Cage have black hair. That's pretty much the only thing that's different between them in different uniforms. So there's not much you had to have done. Really would have been satisfying to see elements.
I really thought that Captain Patel and the KU was going to come to the rescue. They lost contact with the Enterprise, and I thought they were going to play a part in that part. The thing that really bothered me was, number one, she's barely in it, and then she just disappears. I was flying the Enterprise before you were. It's okay, she's going to have a more important role. Nope, she just disappears after that. Again, they don't treat her character super great as far as giving her stuff to do, I find. That's one of the things that bothered me in season 1 as well.
I mean, Chapel was barely in it. I mean, that's the thing, you focus on a couple and you have to leave out the rest, because at least Ortega's got something. It's the same sort of scene for 10 minutes, but at least there's something, so good for her. We've been give her some meaningful dialogue for a while now. Did think it was odd that they didn't even approach the concept of different species dealing with this differently. She's an Illyrian with advanced healing. Why is that not even remotely thingable? You do have episodes of Star Trek where, the Vulcans last, that they so you kind of get a sense of Spock, but Ortega's is there. It would have been nice if there was a sense of the crew is diminishing power, but those with genetic abilities to maintain. What about the lady who's 2,000 years old? I'm betting she has a slight immunity to it compared to a normal average person. Why wasn't she on the bridge helping? It would have been a really fun thing to see, the random people, the really unusual people who can't fly, which leaves Ortega still in that spot. But it was odd that the entire, all of the species universally affected the exact same way within a day. Seemed unrealistic to me. I don't know why exactly, but you could have really led into that, made the Enterprise stuff stronger.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I thought Spock would have a little bit of advantage. He usually does, but he's I can't read this. It's why can't you read your pad? But
yeah, it's in standard. You can read standard. That was nonsensical. There's no reason he couldn't have read that. That didn't make sense.
The other thing that was kind of funny, I thought, and would have been a nice tie-in, is at the beginning where Ortegas puts the hat on, and Juan's you're wearing the hat. The hat is where it's at, kind of thing. That's awesome. Would have been cool if it was one of the helmets that the guards were wearing that was said to block. So if she had gone down, she would have been fine.
Oh, yeah.
You would emulate the material it's made out of.
Oh,
right?
I love that. Yeah.
See, I wish they would have done that.
It's reverse foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like you don't know, it doesn't mean anything until the second watch. Like, oh, that would have been so different. Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's I love that.
So I wish they'd done something like that, but I still thought it was good. I liked Ortigas in it for sure.
Again, kind of one note. It's a nice note, but it wasn't as broad as I was kind of hoping. Although we've now, I guess, canonized that the TOS-ish Enterprise can do all the same things TNG Enterprise can do. In terms of helping someone get to their quarters. Like, it's all 100% able to
follow the light. Although, phaser, she knew how to fly, but phaser through the asteroid, that requires a little bit more extra like knowledge of the phasers and stuff.
Can you fire phasers via helm sometimes? But how would you know even to read like that? You'd have to actively move the station over. There isn't innate phaser controls in helm. You'd have to actually move the display, which you need to know how to do, and charge them because they would not be charged by default. They were not a red alert, and then
and do the funky corkscrew thing.
That was. It would be nice if Spock had done that. And speaking of, they alluded to, I really wish they'd made the Enterprise stuff just stronger, and have Spock be the antithesis of the story, as in he doesn't have the emotions. They're so buried still that he can't. He's such a black box of knowledge that he actually becomes a villain. Like ostensibly, like because that's the joke of that scene. Like she's feeling stuff, and he's like, feelings mean nothing. Like that would have been. The key is feeling. She's feeling driven. He's not feeling driven. I guess technically he is right now. But like that would have been a nice foil. Like she actually has to take out Spock because he's like refusing to go with their feelings because he knows feelings are wrong. That's his feeling. Like would have been kind of fun. They slightly did it, but wasn't enough. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I think adding little things like that and like the helmet thing would have made it a little more rich. But because I'm thinking too on. After going to watch it a second time might be a little bit more boring now that we know where it's flowing. It definitely felt like an episode of Stargate for me. I like once they got to the guy's hut to help La'an, I got Stargate vibes instantly. Before that, I was like, this is very TOS. So yeah, it's one of those stories that kind of works for that format. And I love that there was a crewman left behind because that happened a lot in TOS where like a captain would go crazy and
stuff happens
stay on the planet.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
But I'd definitely call it, like a mid-level TOS episode, but without some of those like really creative 60s twists that just like pep something up. There's moments like, it's a good mid, but there wasn't too many elements. Like the Pike scene at the end was a good bit for me acting-wise. The idea of skipping time was fun, but none of them had too many payoffs. Like, they walked into a situation, they were fine, but they did it like 6 times, and none of them particularly had a payoff. They could have had a really nice each one. Like, there's Moon Knight. His swapping personality, that's a giant plot thread, and every single time he does it is a payoff. It's really, really distinct, and often, if you know that's coming, you're like, oh, is it good? Like, you feel a vibe, whereas in this, it was like, oh, they're doing the thing again. It didn't have a payoff vibe, it just was, okay, moving on. So there was... Yeah, maybe a safe episode. I don't know.
It was a cost-cutting episode. I'm sure there's going to be more grandiose episodes, which we're going to absolutely love.
The thing we've said are cheap things: a cage laser, a couple of thousand,
a helmet.
They already had a couple. Okay, wouldn't fit her. Fair, fine. But those things are really simple stuff to add to the quality. Have the Illyrian. Because why couldn't she heal that and then heal someone else with a bright light? She would be on. Like that was radiation poisoning. Like surely she can heal that.
Well, even going back to the helmet, it would have been cool if Pike, as they tend to do, once you beat up the guard, you put on the disguise and puts on the helmet and, actually starts to remember things. They could have tied that in somehow.
But it was a fun, simple wraparound of the 2-tier system, that memoryless and the memory. Like, again, simple story was great. And now you're going to rewatch Cage with a whole new appreciation that, thank God, he was only there for a couple of minutes. Because he was losing memories that day. I mean, that was they said 6 hours to the place, so within 8 hours.
Yeah, they were there 4 hours on the first landing party.
Yes,
so it wasn't enough time because they had said that they landed the shuttle and walked 6 hours.
Yes.
And La'an forgot a lot of that because she had the lost time. So,
although that I quite like that as a conceit because she didn't teleport. She did live those hours and then she lost the memory. We're seeing from her perspective, but of course, it triggered at hour 6. But up until that, she was fine. It's just then, boom, she lost the hours. I did notice that at the start, the idea of only 4 hours. That's weird because it is weird. But they had to put that in to make everything else work in the story.
I guess that's it. I mean, I thought it was a pretty good episode. Pretty, like I said, middle of the road, just kind of standard episode. Not at all bad. It was very enjoyable. But,
hey, better than Discovery, seasons 1, most of 2, good chunk of 3. Like, just nice and gentle.
Yeah.
Nice episode.
Yeah. Everybody kind of gets something to do, so... Anyway, comment down below what you guys thought about this episode. What you think about it? Hit that like button for this video, please. And make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell icon to all so you remember to join us for lives and check out our edited content every chance that you get. So, there you go.
You are Captain Foley. This is Trekyards.
I am. I'm
not closing out, I'm just reminding you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And if you want to support us on a monthly basis, you can do Patreon or join the channel on YouTube. And what's great, though, you can forget both exist, and they'll keep rolling through. So that's okay to forget about those. Or one-time donations at trekyards@hotmail.com. That is the PayPal. Or, like you said, Super Chat. Super thanks during any video, which is Super Chat, but on any pre-existing video. Buy shirts with links down below. And just keep jumping in, watching videos, saying hi in the chat, and being part of the community.
That's right. So until next time, he is Captain Foley.
He's Captain.
He just told me that he was Captain Foley, I think.
And he is Captain Foley. That's the only thing I'm certain about. So, yeah. We'll go with that.
Oh, you're that Commander Cockins.
Admiral Cockins, yeah.
Admiral Cockins guy. That's him. So he's Admiral Cockins.
Well, no, you have to salute a superior officer. Stuart, bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.